Fish in a Tree by Linda Mullally Hunt. Chapter 36. In the Game of Life. First thing, Mr. Daniels calls me into the hallway. So, I heard there was a little bit of trouble yesterday. I fold my arms. Teachers often leave special instructions for a sub, but she was not supposed to share my note with the class. I figured I'd write her a note telling her that you could do a picture so she didn't pressure you to write. I know that you struggle, and I thought I was helping you. But I see I shouldn't have handled it by singling you out that way. Allie, I think you know I would never hurt you on purpose. I do know that, and I am so relieved to hear him say that. So, I'm sorry, Allie. I really am. I hope you can forgive me. He holds out his hand to shake, and I shake back. That afternoon, Mr. Daniels moves his king, placing it on a black square between his bishop and my knight. And I see the three of us, Albert, Kiesha, and me. With Kiesha as the bishop, tall and powerful, and able to move across the entire board in one move. With Albert being the king, the piece with a ton of value, but the one unable to move more than one space at a time. Always taking tiny steps, always running from and hiding behind the others. Then there's the knight, the piece that Mr. Daniels says is the clever one. The best piece for catching opponents in a fork. A piece that moves only in an L. I feel like I am the knight. I spent my whole life jumping over things. Shay is the queen. The piece with the most power to move and frighten. The piece most protected and sacrificed for. I realize that dealing with Shay every day is like playing chess. She's always looking for your weakness, always trying to get you flustered and force you into a mistake. Against her, you have to remember that the board is always changing and moving. Keep your eyes open. Be careful. Have a plan. Realize that you can only stay on the defensive for so long. Eventually, you have to take a stand. But no matter what, don't give up. Because every once in a while, a pawn becomes a queen. Well, Mr. Daniels asks, pulling me from my mind movie, you've been thinking for a long time over there. Thinking about your move? I look back down. I search. I haven't beaten him lately, and I so want to. And then I see it. It's the knight. The answer is in the knight. I pick it up, move it, hold my finger on the top of it to be sure I haven't made a mistake. Yep, I put his king in check and given him nowhere else to move. Checkmate. He throws up his hands, but seems happy. You didn't let me win, right? Allie, I have 3 brothers. I am not capable of letting someone win. He laughs a little. I think you're just invincible. And then he winks and begins taking the pieces off the board and putting them in a box. I'm sad that the game is over, and I'm relieved that I trust him again. And isn't it funny? I've gone from invisible to invincible. Chapter 37. A chicken, a wolf, and a problem. Because it's Fantastico Friday, Mr. Daniels has planned a puzzle for us to solve. He draws some squiggly lines from the top to the bottom on the board and tells us it's a river. Then he proves he's the worst artist ever by drawing a chicken, a wolf, and a bag of grain on one side of the water. Mr. Daniels, did you draw that with your eyes closed? Oliver yells. No offense, but that's terrible. He laughs. I'm not offended, Oliver. I have eyes to see it. And then he looks at me. We are not all wired to be gifted artists. Then he adds a little boat, which looks a lot like a banana on the bank of the river. Okay, he says, here's your problem to solve. You need to get all 3 of these items across the river, but you can only take one item at a time in the boat. You can't leave the wolf alone with the chicken because the chicken will become lunch. And you can't leave the chicken with the grain or the grain will become lunch. So, how do you get all 3 items across the river? Remember, Only one item in the boat at a time. Easy, Oliver yells. You just take the chicken first. Then what happens after that? Then you take the grain. But what will happen to the grain when you go back for the wolf? After a couple seconds, Oliver drapes himself over his desk. Mr. Daniel pats Oliver on the back. It's okay, kiddo. It's supposed to be hard. Mr. Daniels turns to Suki. Any idea? She puts her pointer finger on her chin. If you were to take the grain first, wait. If you take the wolf, she sighs and shrugs. I don't know. Albert's eyebrows are so scrunched up, they look like they'll cover his eyes. Take a few minutes to try to solve this on your own, then we'll talk about it in a bit. I can't figure it out. No one can. Most kids have drawn a river, and the animals, like Mr. Daniels did. After a while, kids started talking to each other. I'm surprised when he didn't tell us to be quiet while we were trying to keep solving it. I tear off 3 little pieces of paper and draw a chicken on the first, a grain on the second, and a wolf on the third. I move them around and back and forth across the river. The class is loud now. I pick up my 3 pieces of paper and ask Mr. Daniels if I can work in the hallway because of the noise. Sure, go ahead. I'm out there just a few minutes moving my pieces around when Shay and Jessica come out. They sit across the hall from me. I guess they came out here to work too. This is dumb, Jessica says. Tell me about it, Shay answers. Who cares about chickens and wolves and whatever? Do you know the answer, Allie? Jessica asks. Why are you asking her? Of course she doesn't know, Shay says. She whispers something to Jessica, and soon after, Shay is holding up signs with words. Can you read this, Allie? I try to ignore them. I'm not going to let her upset me. I remember, life with Shay is like playing chess. Don't get flustered. Don't make mistakes. Aw, you can't read it, can you? The baby voice doesn't bother me as much as the words themselves. I try to concentrate on solving this problem. Shay moves closer to me. You are so stupid, Allie. You know, Mr. Daniels is only nice to you because he feels sorry for you. Come on, Shay, let's go back inside, Jessica squeaks. Don't come on me, Shay snaps. Whose side are you on? I'm on yours, Jessica says. But it isn't the sound of loyalty. It's the sound of fear. I stand up, go into the classroom, and go into the corner behind Mr. Daniels' desk. It's hard for me to push the sound of Shay's voice out of my head, but I remind myself that just because someone says it doesn't make it true. I concentrate on the 3 pieces of paper, the chicken, the wolf, and the grain. I move the pieces of paper around on the floor. It takes me a while, but I realize that you do need to take more than 3 trips. You need to take the chicken and then the grain, but then take the chicken back with you and leave it while you take the wolf. Then you leave the wolf and take the grain and go back for the chicken. I leap up. I got it! Kiesha and Albert are surprised. So am I. Mr. Daniels comes over and I whisper the answer in his ear. Impressive work, Allie. He says I can go around and help others in the last remaining minutes. Allie, Max says in a loud whisper, what's the answer? Come tell us how you did it. By now, Shay and Jessica have come back in, and they see me helping Max. When I swing by her, Shay says in a low voice, You're still a loser, Allie. A total and complete loser. But Jessica smiles a bit at me. Mr. Daniels calls us back to our seats. Okay, that was a 2-part assignment. The first was to solve the puzzle. The second was to see who would stick with it. Who would work on it, and who would work on it until it was solved. Congratulations to the few of you that did. If you are one of the many that gave up and started talking to your friends about soccer and other things, I want you to consider that no matter how smart you are, the success is reached with hard work too. I can't believe it. My experience with endless frustration and having to work on things for so long has actually paid off. I guess maybe I'm having trouble is not the same as I can't.